And I don't know if you know much about Korean food, but my son, when he was 3 years old, was in this car seat. And I had the windows down in the summer. And we were cruising down 530 again. And it smelled like manure because they had sprayed the fields.
Yeah.
And Korean kimchi is what you eat it with like everything.
Yeah.
And it smells like a fart.
Yeah, it's pickled cabbage.
Yeah, fermented
cabbage.
He's just sitting there. He's 3 years old. And he goes kimchi because it smelled like shit outside. It was so funny.
You're listening to the Good Talk Josh podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This episode is brought to you by Latham Realty Unlimited. Get a hold of them at 425-345-4920. And check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/Latham Realty Unlimited. Also, a way to support the show is to go onto my Patreon page. You can pledge $1 a month, you can pledge $5 a month, you can pledge $40 a month. Whatever suits your fancy. It is located at patreon.com/goodtalkjosh.
We'll dive into it.
All right. So, my journey to AKA started probably back, it was kind of an accident. It wasn't really, my goal in life wasn't to open an MMA gym. It just kind of ended up being that way. So, typically, growing up, I was just a martial arts nutball,
Yeah.
like kids love Dragon Ball Z, I love Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
Kids like, playing Pokemon Go, I found pieces of metal and cut out ninja stars,
Yeah.
I was a little poor kid growing up in the ghetto in Everett and in Arlington, and always just, I don't know, I was just attracted to it when I was young. Grew up watching Kung Fu theater my entire life.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee flicks, anything Kung Fu. It didn't matter. Anything martial arts. All the old ninja shows, all the American Ninja.
The overdubbed stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's horrible. Oh, it's horrible. The acting sucks. Everything sucks on those movies except the fight scenes.
Yeah.
So I would just kind of ignore the dubbed crap, and I would just watch that. Anyways, could never afford it. Always begging my parents growing up. My dad left when I was pretty young, so it was just mom, myself, and my sister, and she's just a little South Korean lady, Didn't have a lot of education here in America, so she's working 2 jobs growing up, so I just kind of ran ragged, and which left me with nothing to do but get in trouble, which led me into getting in fights, growing up. So I got beat up a lot when I was little. I was a little half Asian kid getting thumped on by all the white kids in the neighborhood, and I was actually taught a real man turns the cheek. So I got my ass kicked over and over and over, and I'm like, this is the worst idea I've ever heard of. I'm like, I get it, you don't want to start fights, but you don't want to be a punk all the time. But Dad said turn the cheek. So I turned the cheek, kept turning the cheek, and I guess finally I got my butt kicked enough. Finally Dad said, you know what, I'm sick of this crap. Next time that kid messes with you, turn around, blast him in between the eyes as hard as you can. I guarantee he'll stop messing with you and he'll drop like a fly. Next day, sure enough, kid messed with me, dropped him. But at this time, this kid's been punking me for about 6 months or a year, and he's just been thumping on me.
Yeah.
And so I just cut loose, man. And then honestly, it just, in a weird way, I was like, wow, it was kind of, I felt like some strength out of it. I just got my butt kicked for all these years, and or all this time when I was a kid, and all of a sudden this kid didn't mess with me anymore. So that kind of enlightened me. I was like, oh, fighting's kind of cool. I mean, not cool, but it's nice to be able to defend yourself and protect yourself and not be a victim for once in your life. And then after that, I moved to, when I was in Arlington, moved back to Arlington. You're going to get kind of confused. I was back and forth, Arlington, Everett.
Yeah.
But I just begged to do martial arts, and the only thing available in Arlington at that time was AKA Taekwondo. And it used to be where the Arlington Hardware, where they keep all their lumber and stuff in the back.
Gotcha.
That used to be the Taekwondo studio. And I started there when I was 16. Did it for, about 16.
Was that your first formal?
First formal, yeah. My dad finally pulled the trigger and allowed me to cough up the cash for it as long as I kept my grades up.
Yeah.
Because, at this point I had already been through a lot of ups and downs through my childhood. Gotten into a little bit of trouble and this and that, so he was using that as a tool to kind of calm me down, hone me in, and keep me on the straight and path.
Yeah.
So it didn't really work at that time because I ended up finding out that Taekwondo, it was okay. It was definitely just traditional. I mean, after a while, I would go too hard and I'd get scolded, and I'm like, well, but I'm here to learn to fight, but yet they wanted me to tap dance.
Yeah.
And do forms and do these pretty kicks that wouldn't really work unless you have a way of setting that stuff up. So traditional martial arts, I kind of got burnt out on pretty quick. Blew my knee out doing some spin kick, so stupid. And then I just stopped doing it. And then I kind of, like I said, I had a bit of a troubled background and kind of a rough upbringing, so I was kind of a street kid, so I was dinking around through high school, getting into crap, and I ended up knocking up my high school girlfriend. And I was always taught to be a man and take care of your responsibilities, so I wound up marrying her, which I thought was the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah. I
was young. We ended up getting divorced, and that kind of led me back into martial arts. I wanted something positive. When we were separating, instead of going out and being like the rest of the world and getting drunk and hitting the bars and partying it up, and doing that type of thing, I found something constructive to do with my energy.
Yeah.
And it was kind of crazy because the first day I went in there, I was 22 years old. I thought it was tough. I was lifting weights all the time. I could bench almost 400 pounds. I could curl 60s. Rep with 225 was rep. I'd rip out 10 sets or 3 sets of 10, no problem.
Yeah.
I was a big muscle head, and I thought that made me tough. Walked into the gym and told the instructor, whose name is Charles Pearson, that I wanted to fight. And I'm sure you heard, I know now that I have my own studio that I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I remember he's like, oh, do you? Oh, okay. And then so he pointed to this little kid in the corner. And he goes, you want to fight? Go fight that kid. And I'm like, no, I'm 22 years old. I can bench 400 pounds. I'll crush that kid. I'll hurt him.
Yeah.
He's like, no, go ahead. Go over there. And the kid's 12 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is stupid. So I go over there. And
what kind of gym is Charles running?
Right now, he has an MMA gym. He has C3 in Everett.
Was this...
Back then, it was called Pearson Black Belt Academy. And
gotcha.
This was before he had just started doing MMA a little bit.
Gotcha.
And he was just playing with it himself. It was mostly traditional and kickboxing.
Gotcha.
And then I think he had 1 hour a night where we did grappling, and he was new at it too. But regardless, I knew nothing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a big
12-year-old.
Yeah, 12-year-old, right? It's pretty funny. So I go in there and I start grabbing onto this kid, and he drops down and grabs my leg and just rips what I know now is called a heel hook. It's where you actually hyperextend the knee joint. But I'd never seen that before. And the kid whooped my ass in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what led me into the path. I'm like, no, I'm not accepting that. I was like, I just got beat up by a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I will be back. And then I went back the next day and I haven't stopped. And I just got addicted. It became my crack.
Yeah.
It instead of getting upset, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
In a good way. I was like, dude, I just got my ass kicked by a 12-year-old kid. The kid was a skinny, scrawny little guy.
Yeah.
Looked like nothing.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it woke me up. It humbled me quickly.
And lit the spark. And
and lit a spark. And
Jody, this is Landon. Landon,
this
this
is
is my wife, Jody.
Sorry to be in your home, but very nice house. So that's kind of what got me into it.
Yeah.
Just kind of a quick, long synopsis of.
That's what got you into it. You eventually got to the point where you turned pro for a while. You kind of.
I actually was only amateur for 2 years.
2 years.
And then I was pro for about 13.
No shit.
Ish. Yeah, something like that.
So what are some of the the crazy fight stories? What's
I
a pro
love the
fighter
crazy-
look like?
Well, a pro fighter now, the sport's getting bigger, and I'm not going to lie, it's getting a little saturated.
Yeah.
And that happens with any sport that becomes mainstream.
Yeah.
You have to,
Once you get a couple billionaires to buy UFC and they...
Yeah, once you get some money backing things up,
Yeah.
and they start monopolizing things and start taking control, and it just becomes kind of... It's definitely changed a lot, and it's been kind of... It's cool,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a different brand these days, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I came up kind of what they would call the pioneer days. We were learning as we fought and as we were doing promotion.
You weren't necessarily fighting in octagons. You were fighting in...
I fought in rings mostly.
Yeah.
Boxing rings.
Yeah.
When I was coming up, there was no octagon.
Yeah.
A freaking octagon. They brought cages in when in the early 2000s. I was fighting. I started in '99.
Yeah.
And people kept asking. They didn't even know what it was when I started. They're like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "MMA." And they're like, "What's MMA?" Well, it's called mixed martial arts. They're like, "Oh, what's that UFC?" You know, that human cockfighting. I'm like, it's not human cockfighting.
But back in the day,
That's what people thought.
Yeah.
You know, they just weren't educated, and they thought that we were crazy people getting in a cage and trying to maim each other. But there's so much skill and so much discipline, and there's also so much camaraderie, and some of the coolest people I've ever met are involved in this sport. Some of the biggest dickheads are in the sport too, of course. When it goes to the professional athletes, you always got those guys that aren't very humble, think their shit don't stink, and well, they find out.
Yeah.
Eventually, no one goes undefeated if they do the sport and are in it. The only way you go undefeated is if you do 2 or 3 fights and call it a day.
Yeah.
You know, and then you can
Pick
go
weak
undefeated.
opponents and never get matched up.
But I've had some pretty crazy experiences. I fought, some pretty. I did at the time fight the top level of my sport. I was not top 20 in the world ever in my career. My highest ranking was 42 in the world as a welterweight, and that was in my mid-20s when I was doing really well. I was I was healthy and young, and I was fighting guys like Drew Fickett and Robbie Lawler and those guys. My pro debut was against Robbie Lawler.
How'd that go?
I got knocked out. I was told he was a damn wrestler, and I took it on 12 hours notice.
Okay.
So basically, I had competed a week prior to this, and I had an absolute war in Bend, Oregon. I actually fought a guy, and I had an ear infection when I fought him. But I had made it to the event, made weight, did all the work, had an ear infection, felt like shit, but I wasn't about to pull out. So I humped through that fight. I ended up losing a really close split decision, but I wasn't much of an athlete growing up. I didn't know what a concussion was.
Yeah.
I had
no one did back then.
I never knew. I didn't know what a damn concussion was. So I just ignored it. So after that fight, I was at the gym training, and Charlie pokes his head out and screams down, "Hey, you want to turn pro?" And I'm like, "Well, what? Yeah." Stupid question. Get paid to fight? Yeah. Of course I do.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right. He goes, well, do you want to fight tomorrow? I go, sure. What the hell? And I go, where? He's like, California. I go, are they flying me out? He goes, no, you're going to go home right now, pack your shit and go. And I'm like, all right, screw it. Let's do it. I go, who am I fighting? There's some kid named Robbie Lawler. He's making his debut. He's a wrestler. Wrestler is what I was told. So I'm like, all right, cool. Went home, packed my bag, grabbed a buddy, hit the road. Bam, off to California I went. Drove through the night. Because I was fighting the next day at like 2 or 3 or whatever. It was in Orville, California. Some country bear casino or something. It's a damn tent.
Yeah.
Golden Country Bear Casino. I can't remember. It was so long ago, but and my buddy, we just hopped in. We went for it, and I got there about noon the next day. Checked into my hotel immediately. I had to check in with the promotion, so I drove to the casino, and I had to make weight. I was overweight, about 105 degrees out in California. I'm freaking overweight. I drew through the night, and we had to get ready to compete in about a couple hours. So they're like, well, you got to cut that weight. So I threw a sauna suit on
in 105.
In 105 degree weather and ran around the damn casino until I made weight. Made weight, chugged some water. Didn't have time to go back to the hotel and get ready to fight because we were about to start. So I said, screw it. And I just hung out and